Our main speaker today is Gauthier de Brabandere. Gauthier was born in Kortrijk, Belgium, or a town that's pronounced something like that. You'll have to tell us, Gauthier, which is just across the border from Lille in France, about 50 kilometers inland from Ostend. So the ferry goers from the UK are probably familiar with that area. His mother tongue was Flemish Dutch, but being right close to the border, he also speaks French. And German is the third official language of Belgium. So no problem with languages for Mr. de Brabandere. He got his master's degree in economics and a master's in business administration from the nearby Ghent University, and went to work for Beckert, which is a major steel and steel coating company. So he knows a lot about steel wires and things, as well as his economics and business. Being a global company, Beckert in 1975 sent Gauthier to Arkansas. And I'm thinking that would have been a bit of a culture shock for you and your family. It's a little different from Belgium to Arkansas, and I'm not even sure they've got chip trucks in Arkansas. While he was there, Gauthier earned his MBA from the University of Arkansas, apparently without acquiring an Arkansas accent, but maybe we will hear some later on. But when Bill Clinton became governor in 1979, Gauthier left for Germany and continued his global career. Apparently it rubbed off on his children. He has two children with his wife, Tom, who lives in Melbourne, Australia, and Astrid, who has been working for Action contre la faim, an NGO against hunger. I'm guessing probably not in Belgium, and they work in some very dangerous places around the world. So you may well be glad to see her safely at home now. Gauthier joined PROBUS Kortrijk Rodenburg in 2005, became the regional coordinator for West Flanders 2010, the president of PROBUS Rodenburg in 2017, president of PROBUS Belgium 2019, he still is. Please welcome Gauthier de Brabandere. Tell us about PROBUS in Belgium and chocolates and beer too, I hope.
Thank you very much, Peter, for such an extensive introduction. I'm blushing. But your pronunciation was very well. Thank you. So the town's name is Kortrijk in Dutch.
That was pretty far off mine.
for the British or Anglo-Saxon people who were around, Courtrai is the French pronunciation and is also the English pronunciation. So I don't know, I think I should share the screen now. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good night to everybody. I'll say it also in French and Dutch. Goeienamiddag. Welkom aan de Nederlandstalige vrienden. Bienvenue à tous les francophones, qu'ils soient français ou belges, ou canadiens, québécois, peu importe de par le monde. I'm very grateful and happy to be able to talk to you about PROBUS Belgium. And maybe quite a number of people of you know Belgium, but do you know that Belgium is also famous in the cartoon world with the character Asterix and Obelix, who are the major characters of a Belgian village that resisted the invasion of the Romans and always defeated the Roman legions. The Roman legions who had the direction of Belgium and the opposite direction, the Celtic and the Gaul. So one of the many books is Asterix in Belgium. Quite a number of people probably also know Tintin from the cartoon, and that is still for youngsters, but youngsters up to 97 years of age. Quite a number of people have fought in the battlefields World War I and II in Belgium, and having visited a number of Anzac memorials, you see quite a lot of pictures, images of the world wars that took place in Belgium, and one of the largest cemeteries is the Tuinkot Cemetery near the town of Ypres, or Yper in Dutch. But Belgium is also famous for the second port in Europe, Port of Antwerp, that has now recently announced joining forces with the Port of Bruges for the larger ships, in order for those larger ships not to have to sail through the River Scheldt to get to the port. Famous also is a Ghent flower show that takes place every 5 years, and which has been visited quite often. When I first did the run through the Ghent flower show with the girl that later became my wife, we came across an Northern Irish friend in the midst of the flower show. We have quite a lot of old buildings, since we're an older nation in old Europe, but you have also quite a number of new buildings, one of which is the railway station of the city of Liège in the southern part of Belgium, designed by an architect called Calatrava. Belgium, Brussels is also the seat of the European Parliament. Every visitor to Brussels has to see the little urinating boy, Manneken Pis, in Brussels. In 1958, a world exhibition was held in Brussels with, as a symbol, the atomium. On the path of industry, we were an important manufacturer of cars that has dwindled down, but still are manufacturing cars. But at a certain point in time, there was not a single country in the world that produced more cars per head of the population than Belgium. The pharmaceutical industry, the COVID pharmaceutical industry, is well established in Belgium and is leading in its research. Textile, carpet industry has always been quite important here. That gives you a little bit of an overall picture, but where do we lie in the territory of Europe? You see Belgium in the middle, and so going back to Asterix and Obelix, the Romans tried to invade all of Europe and had a problem with a few villages here, the valiant Belgians. But we have been territorially part of Burgundy. We've been part of France. We've been part of the Spanish Empire, part of the Austrian-Hungarian. So we've always been fighting against dominance. But fighting against dominance created also the push to get together. And Belgium, the Netherlands, and the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg were the very forerunners of uniting into a customs agreement, which were the forerunner for 6 countries, creating the embryo of what is now the European Union of 27 countries after the Brexit. Having another look, Richard asked me also to talk about our neighbors. Well, who are our neighbors? It is France to the south, the little bit of Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, Germany, Holland, and the United Kingdom. How are we organized? Belgium was founded only in 1830, so comparatively recently. Before, we were always part of a larger entity. With the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, that was on Belgian territory, Waterloo, our territory became part of Holland, and we seceded from Holland in 1830. It's a kingdom. We at present have a 7th king, Philip, with Queen Matilda. You see also the national emblem and the national flag. How are we divided? we have a population of 11,600,000, but we have again a division, a line somewhere halfway between, with the northern part speaking Dutch or Flemish, because it's Flanders. And that is about represents about 60% of the population. You see, it's adjacent to the Netherlands. Dutch in Holland or Dutch in Flanders is grammatically exactly the same, just like English or American English. The southern part has French as their mother tongue and has a large border with France. But for instance, even the north of France is referred to as French Flanders. Okay? So we have Flanders, 60% of our population, 30% population in the Walloon part. Brussels capital region is basically almost multilingual, in Belgian terms, a mixture of Dutch and French. And we have a little corner here of territory where German is the mother tongue, with about 80,000 people. You see it more on the small picture of the country here in the right-hand corner. If we look at it from an organizational point of view, we have 5 provinces in the north, 5 provinces in the south. And I use this map because that is also more or less the division that we have in the setup of PROBUS. Because we have 6 regions since 2011. 6 regions have been designed with approximately similar number of clubs or members at the time. This has evolved in the meantime. And I'll get more of that, how we present this in the PROBUS organization. But that coincides in a number of situations with provinces. 1, 2, 3 is like a province. The 4th region is dual, 2 provinces. But in the south, which is less populated and more territory, you have one area covering 2 provinces and the other one even 3, and the German territory. But unfortunately, so far, not a single PROBUS club in the German-speaking territory. How has PROBUS been started up in Belgium? A person called George Dick brought the idea from England and created in 1984 2 clubs, one in the Flemish part, in the Flanders area, close to Antwerp. He was a member of Rotary Club Antwerp Ring and created PROBUS Antwerp Ring. In the same year, also a Rotary Club, with his help and assistance in the French-speaking part in Huy, not too far from Liège, created a second PROBUS club. And I don't think it makes sense to run over the details, but in the first 15 years, there was a rapid growth in both north and south of clubs and membership. So 74 clubs were created in those 15 years. In the next 20 years, since then, 41 clubs were created, giving us a total right now of 115 clubs still in existence. 4 additional ones have been created, but had to stop because of lack of enthusiasm and dwindling membership. Every club in Belgium and the overall organization are not incorporated. So they're what we refer to as organizations in fact, which doesn't mean that we don't have any internal bylaws, but we have no formal juridical personality. Total membership is spread 84% men, as probably most of you know, since Rotary clubs were generating the PROBUS clubs. Rotary clubs being all men, at the origin, virtually, not to say all clubs, were men clubs, with a few exceptions from the very beginning. Few exceptions with, for instance, in the 20 men members and 2 or 3 ladies for one club I know, which is Antwerp Ring, for instance. And another exception was from the very beginning, the number 14 club in its creation right away took the attitude of making couples members. But that was the exception, and still is the exception. Of the 115 clubs, actually now, 56 are still all men clubs, and 51% or 59 combined. In Belgium, there are no ladies-only clubs. At present, maybe, but no idea to create them so far. From the national committee out, we promote the startup of combined clubs, or for existing clubs, all men clubs, to open up for ladies. If you look at the spread over the regions, there's 4 regions in the Dutch-speaking part, with 4 regions in the Dutch-speaking part, yes, covering 85 clubs and 3,200 members. And as you see, a much lower number of clubs, 30, 1/3 of the number of clubs in the French-speaking part, with a total of 900 members. At present, the numbers are 2021. If you have a look at the demography, the size of the clubs, contrary to some of the clubs in Canada or Australia, we average more or less 40 members per club, and the utmost size of clubs is 84 members. So only 10 clubs have less than 20 members. They're either new or one stopped in 2019, but started again with a much less attendance, much less members. So they're now at 15, and they will hopefully build up again. The ones in decline, there's 2 clubs with only 9 members left, but they're very happy to be together and to continue as they are. And there's about 14 clubs, which 11 clubs, sorry, which have more than 50 members. Annually, we attract approximately between 250 and 350 new members. But we don't increase with that number every year. Of course, we don't count the people who become honorary members. So in that sense, we have been growing more or less with 60, 70 members a year. In 2020, I was expecting not to have many new members, but nevertheless, despite COVID, 131 new members joined. How much it'll be in 2021 is, of course, guesswork. Average age, with the increase of working age, retirement used to be 65 for men, 60 for ladies, but is moving upwards. So the age at which new members join is gradually moving upward. So now the average in the younger clubs is 68 to the oldest club, the club with the oldest average is 89. with an overall average of just less than 78 years of age for all of Belgium. How are we organized? I've mentioned 6 regions, and each region has a regional coordinator. Since 2001, organized by the then national president, Stani Verhoefstraete, a national committee was organized with these 6 regional coordinators, who each can serve at a maximum 3 terms of 2 years. And on top of those 6, a national president who can serve normally a term of 2 years. In exceptional situations, like my term will be 3 because of the COVID, because we all took the decision to extend the 2-year term with 1 extra year because of COVID. Because of the language differences, at the meetings, each of us speak their own language, which implies that we speak and understand each other's language. So French and Dutch are common to all 7 members of the National Committee. And that is one expectation we have. The National Committee is supported in 2 ways. One by 6 functions, I'll call them functions: secretary, finance, the PROBUS shop, which has a number of articles like ties, bow ties, vests, flags, communication, webmaster and ICT, and we take care of the insurance, civil liability and accident insurance. But sometimes these functions are being combined by one person, or for instance, it happens also that a regional coordinator is exercising 1 or 2 of the functions. A second group of support is regional ICT people, 1 per region, in order to support the regional coordinator in the connection to the clubs as far as ICT is concerned, or as far as collection for the National Committee to collect the data on new clubs, collect the data on membership. What is the role of the regional coordinator? He's basically the liaison between the clubs and his or her region. They're supposed to visit all clubs in their own region, and depending on the size of the region and the number, there are between 13 to 25 clubs in the region, which means basically the idea is that a regional coordinator should try and visit as much as possible every club in his or her region within the time span of 2 years. Sometimes it doesn't occur, sometimes it does. The regional coordinator organizes a president meeting of his region. So if each club sends 2 people to such a meeting, you have with the region with 25 clubs, you have about 50 people attending those meetings. One of their roles is to stimulate new membership in order for clubs not to forget to renew memberships and bring in younger members, and also to assist or sponsor the creation of new clubs. Since the National Committee is not overly staffed and it's all voluntary, we organize, I'll come back to that later, regional days or national days, but we don't organize that that is not organized by the National Committee, but we try to find clubs, 1 club or a group of clubs to do that, to take up the organization of such days. And of course, another role is to facilitate local sub-region activities amongst several different clubs. But I'll come to that with a few examples. As far as communication, at the national level, we have listed 5 different initiatives. One is, of course, the website, PROBUS Belgium. And on that website, we have created what we refer to as a newspaper, because every little article used to be published in a newsletter, which is the number 3, but that took some time. And by publishing it on the newspaper, we can bring it faster. For instance, whoever has looked at the website recently has seen that on the newspaper side, there was an announcement of this Zoom meeting with PROBUS Global and a reference to the PROBUS Global newsletter. We used to, from quite a long time already, we publish a newsletter which is being electronically distributed to the clubs, who then in turn distribute it to their membership. We also have labeled communication letters, which are intended for club management. Not that the content is not to be divulged, but it is mainly for practical matters concerning mainly the club management. And every year we publish an annual directory with the committees of all of the clubs and a number of general rules and practices of PROBUS Belgium. That is at the national level. At the club level, some have nothing as publication, some have a monthly publication or an occasional one or a quarterly newsletter. As far as club websites is concerned, the national website offers the assistance to create their own website in the context of the national website. 28 clubs have done so, and 25 have created their own club website. What are the club activities? Mainly what you have everywhere else, what you have in Canada, in England, and in Australia. Lunches with or without a speaker. Some clubs, the younger ones more than the older clubs, organize sport activities, cycling, walks. Golf is not so popular as it is in the Anglo-Saxon countries, but some clubs certainly do organize little tournaments locally, and nationally. You'll see that further. There is an annual golf tournament taking place. Depending on what is brought forward by committees or members of clubs, company visits are being organized, generally before a luncheon. Daily excursions, one-day excursions are generally cultural visits. For the larger clubs, they do it on their own. For the clubs with more people who have difficulty in getting around, they organize these excursions with 2 or 3 clubs together. And in quite a number of clubs, not all of them, organize 3 to 5 days trips to a destination, which used to be a destination reachable by a one-day bus travel. But with younger clubs, the use of airplanes has been pushed in order to make other visits further away. I mentioned that in certain areas there are so-called local activities, and I use the example amongst the people attending, there are several of my area, Kortrijk, Vele and Annie, who well know that we have every New Year a luncheon with the 7 local clubs. In other areas, it's an end of August reunion of 3 or 4 clubs. So that is a joint gathering is being organized by quite a number of clubs. In the area of Mons, you have the same. They jointly get together with 6 or 7 clubs. What in our particular area, we managed to a couple of people set up a negotiation with a professional educational team to set up computer lessons modeled uniquely to Probian needs. So they negotiated the content, and about 80 attendees are split over 5 or 6 different classes, depending on the level or the content that was to be different for those particular members. Film viewing is another initiative since 2017, which was, of course, handicapped by the COVID restrictions now. But instead of simply going to the movies, they organized a pre-film coffee meeting so that people could talk to each other. It's a setting for communication. Then a particular introduction of the film itself, and afterwards, again, a drink, and even for some of them, dinner. So in order to get really together much more and extend the knowledge and get to know the other members of other clubs, which resulted into an attendance of more than 150 people. And also trips, not with one club, but members of different clubs, not to coincide with the club trips, but out of the usual. For us, out of the usual has been 2 trips, one to Moscow, one to St. Petersburg, based on the background knowledge of one particular member who was very knowledgeable about Russia. In the case, the trips to Spain have been led by a university professor who was particularly knowledgeable about Spain and led the group amongst a path of his own, of course, leading to known places, but also lesser known places. What do we organize at the national or the regional level? I've mentioned already, annually, the club presidents' meetings. They're organized by the regional coordinator. And then I've also mentioned national days or regional days. Since 1991, a national day has been organized every year until 2011. But not by the national committee, but by a local club or 2 or 3 clubs who join forces in order to organize it. One of the drawbacks of a national day is that you have to use the 2 languages to communicate to the audience. And as the groups that attended grew larger and larger, up to almost 1,000, less and less clubs were eager to organize a national day. So in 2011, we started mixing a national day with a regional day, the one year a national, the next year a regional day. Regional then only for the members of that particular region. Since 2014, well, of course, the national and regional day due to COVID have been delayed to 2022 now. So nothing happened in 2020 and nothing happened in 2021, will happen in 2021. Since 2014, an annual golf tournament has been organized on a rotation basis, rotation by clubs who have quite a lot of golfers amongst their membership. To award and recognize people, members of PROBUS, for their exceptional achievements, either within their club or local or in their region, as a regional ICTer, as a regional coordinator, or at national level in one of the support functions, or at the national level. A George Dick Award was created in 2007, and it can only be granted by the National Committee. Since it was started, 175 awards have been granted to PROBUS members. In order to protect the PROBUS logo and the PROBUS name, the protection was taken care of by the then national president, Stani Verhoefstraat, in the year 2003. But protection can only be taken for the combination Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, what is our concern, or separate for England, or separate for France, or separate for Germany. So it was protected for the Benelux in 2003 under the name of Stani Verhoefstraat. But in order to extend it in 2013, we created this time a juridical entity, an incorporated entity in Holland. And that was created by both PROBUS Holland and PROBUS Belgium. And so that will have to be renewed again in 2023. Richard asked me to refer to our neighbors also, and we've looked at them on the map. Of course, the United Kingdom has the largest number of clubs and membership, 60,000, created in 65, 66. The next one was Holland in 1977, and now counts 430 clubs and 13,000 members. And in Holland, there are quite a number of only ladies clubs. Belgium followed in 1984, and you've known, well, I've mentioned already the numbers, more than 4,000 members and 115 clubs. And France followed 7 years later and reached now more than 1,300 clubs and more than 60 clubs, excuse me, and 1,300 members. Quite well present in the north of France, and doing quite a lot of efforts in order to work their way towards the south. But those who attended the meeting, 3 weeks ago, I think, had the presentation of PROBUS France by Jacques-Pierre Nollet. And PROBUS Belgium has a good exchange with both PROBUS Holland and PROBUS France. In Germany, there's only 13 in numbers, a little number of 13, of which 12 are in North Rhine-Westphalia, and one in another of the German states. In total, 840 members, and I don't know exactly when the first one was found in Germany. I think it is 1994. So that's it. Thank you very much, and I'm open for questions, but wish you all to enjoy. I can only let you enjoy it virtually, to have a Belgian chocolate, read a cartoon book of Tintin. You may enjoy a beer, one of the hundreds of beers we have in Belgium, or I can offer you a virtual PROBUS wine, which is not Belgian, it's French, but it's an excellent wine. Thank you very much.
Peter, are you going to take over from here? You're still on mute.
I wasn't I wasn't expecting to, but here I am, and and thank you very much, Gauthier, for that. That was very informative presentation. I was totally unaware that Belgium had as many activities as it does, and it just sounds like a very well organized PROBUS organization there.
Thank you.
Doing a lot of work. So. Merci bien, Gauthier, and I hope there'll be lots of questions here about how you're managing to do all of this.
Avec plaisir.
Gauthier, you mentioned the other countries that are close to you, France, Holland, Germany. Do you ever have a get-together with the management folks in those countries?
Yes, we have built up the habit of inviting the French and the Dutch to the golf tournaments, to invite them to a national or even a regional meeting, a national or regional day. Of course, the language is sometimes a difficulty. So inviting the French management to a Dutch-speaking regional day is not so evident for them, because we would have to translate specifically for them. On a national day, you have a mixture of the two languages, and then it is easier for translating whatever is being said in Dutch to the French. Sometimes we even have to translate it into Dutch from the French part to the Dutch members. But we have, since we speak both languages, we have no problem attending the biannual meeting of PROBUS Holland and the normally annual meeting of PROBUS France.
That's great. Thank you.
But with Germany, no link, no connection. They don't have a superstructure. And I'm wondering if it would not be a good idea to get contact with them, if possible, assist in creating a PROBUS club in the German-speaking part of Belgium.
That may be a good idea, and anything that we as a PROBUS Global Group can offer, just ask us, please.
I read a question about usage of Zoom. What we experience in the COVID period now, that certain clubs have taken up Zoom sessions from the very beginning and organized themselves to order their dinner from their local restaurant that they use, who brings the dinner to their home. So they have a Zoom session and enjoy their meal afterwards. And they have their drink while they're meeting. But other clubs have not done so. So there are a number of clubs which still have to discover the good thing about Zoom.
Great.
Could I ask a question about recruitment of new members?
Yeah.
You said you get some 200 plus new members each year. Do those essentially come through personal contact with existing members, or do you conduct any actual recruitment measures? And if so, what are those?
No, okay, a dual answer. So the standard is new members by word of mouth, by sponsorship by existing members.
Yeah.
So they propose a new member to the committee of the club. The committee decides judges whether it's a good idea, not a good idea, whether it's again another pharmacist, and they have already 7 pharmacists. In order to spread the diversity, they can find it not the right person to join, or the mixture of ladies and men. Mixed clubs some mixed clubs try to keep a real balance of number of men versus number of ladies. That being said, that is still the majority of entrance of new members. At some point in time, a special effort has taken place, I think about 7 or 8 years ago, with leaflets being distributed at, it happened in Antwerp, in order to attract a number of people going to a concert or a theater, a play. That has resulted, and I think he's listening. Roger Domise became a member then, but the whole effort has not been a success at that time. There's Roger. If I'm not mistaken, that has been your case, Roger.
Yes, indeed. Some flyers have been distributed at the exit of concert, a concert which was organized by the Chemical Society, the Pharmaceutical Society, engineers, and so on. But the number of people getting into contact after that action was very low. Yeah.
Thank you, Roger.
I don't know why. Maybe cold water stress or something like that. But we got very few reactions.
Well, for all those listening, I will happily mention that Roger is one of the regional coordinators of the region of Antwerp.
The question came up about recruitment. PROBUS Canada put together a very good recruitment suggestions that should be on their website. So for clubs that are wanting to get ideas on recruitment, that's certainly about it. Brenda, maybe you can, I haven't seen it on the site for a while.
I don't know if it's there either. I'll check for you though, find out. But recruitment, it's hard everywhere. We have a hard time getting new people. We have a hard time recruiting anybody. People don't want to volunteer. They want to help. They don't want to volunteer and spend a lot of time. So it is difficult. We've got some good people here. We just keep pushing at them and making them do their jobs.
Well, I must say it has been easier in Belgium. It has been easier in certain areas in Flanders than it has been in the Walloon part. The Walloon part has to struggle to attract new membership, partly because of there's more opportunities for every people in our age group than there used to be, and in the southern part the distances are they're more apart, and that has created more difficulty. So, for instance, in the southern part, there have only been 3 new clubs in the past 10 years.
We don't have any problem getting members. We have a problem getting people to serve on the committees. Members we start new clubs all the time. I have a district. Right now I'm in charge of 34 clubs, and I've slated, it's supposed to be 2000 or 2020. I was supposed to start up 4 more new clubs. But now, obviously with COVID, we couldn't do it. So we're hoping this year, maybe not, it'll be next year. But now I've got about 7 clubs that we're going to start up. Our clubs are overflowing. Our clubs are minimum of 100 people, maximum. Bob McNair has one for, I think, 600 people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. But people is no problem. It's just getting people to do the organization.
Mhm. Yeah.
When I start my new club, I'll come over.
Good for you.
Do you find it difficult to spread the concept of PROBUS among the elderly people? I find here that most of the Rotary clubs have got a senior citizens group. So they feel, since we are here, what is the point of joining PROBUS? What do you think about it? How to spread this concept so that people are attracted to this concept of PROBUS club?
Well, what we experience in the contacts with Rotary is that, let's say, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, they were eager to create PROBUS clubs because they had no problem of their own membership. And since then, they have evolved also into a situation where their membership is much more difficult, and they try to retain their older members and calling them senior Rotarians. But they have similar recruitment problems and retaining problems as PROBUS. And what is it, in 2019, I think, the PROBUS Club of Antwerp Ring organized a kind of seminar for its 35th anniversary on the subject, and they invited Rotary representative to talk about this subject within Rotary, and the signals were exactly the same, and the difficulties. So nevertheless, you still find new members of PROBUS who are at the same time Lions or Rotarians. So there are still people joining in from the service clubs into PROBUS, but probably less than there used to be.
I find in India the person-to-person contract is the only way. And that is how we are trying now, because I have been trying to the governors of Rotary clubs, but I don't find good response.
No, so that's the same.
That's right.
Richard here from Canada. Brenda mentioned a lot of our clubs over here have the issue is something quite different. It's they've reached their maximum and have a cap in place. I will say some of the things that we really promote strongly in Canada is that it is a social club and it is for retirees. And the important thing is, as a social club, we are not in the service club industry. We're not out there, doing charitable work. We're not doing any kind of business structure things. It's strictly a social club for gathering of retirees, and we're promoting the idea that you have throughout your work career, your friendship, your associates, and once you retire, that part of your life disappears. And we promoted that PROBUS will be a slot where that replaces that part of your life. And I must say, with people like Brenda being on board, that's the been a very successful aspect of our club here in Canada.
Well,
Can
I fully agree. That's the basic idea with us too, you know. But yes, there are plenty of other social activities, but in my personal opinion, which bring together people, but not the same way as PROBUS does.
Yeah.
They bring people together for a visit to a company. They go by bus. They do the visit. Maybe they have lunch together. They have another activity in the afternoon. But that's it. It is less building on the friendship than PROBUS. And I personally think that is still the very big advantage and importance of PROBUS, that we build up the friendships. And in that respect, most clubs have a cap in their membership. We promote for new clubs, for instance, not to grow too fast. Let friendship become part of their build-up, and then gradually they can add new membership. And the maximum cap has been switched from around 35 to 40 and moving up to 50, but not many clubs will accept to go beyond that. And some keep their cap because of the place in the restaurant where they meet.
I have a personal question of personal interest on that. You know, I was fascinated by the atomium when I visited Belgium, Brussels and Belgium. That was sometime in
1958.
59, but I visited 59, 60. But does it still exist?
Yes, still there.
Okay.
And has been cleaned up and modernized inside. Yes, it's there to stay.
Can I? This is Brenda Andrews from
Yes, Brenda.
From Canada. Most of our clubs are they don't meet in restaurants. We meet in church halls, buildings where there's meeting rooms. For a restaurant here, they're not big enough to hold the type of members that we have because we have so many. Our club in Bradford, it's just north of Toronto, we started with 26 members. We capped it at 150. And now I just say I have 150 new friends. Everybody came in gradually. We all met together, so it was very nice. And PROBUS is totally different than this, as we said. It's totally different. We don't do any fundraising. We have fun, and that's what we go in with. And that's how we start our club. You're going to have fun, and you're going to enjoy it. And we have a speaker. If you want to do activities, you can. Nothing is written in stone. You don't have to. Most of the clubs that have larger members, they only have about 6 to 7% show up every week. And our clubs are monthly. We do have some that are bi-monthly, but most of them are monthly. And we push for combined clubs, men and women. There are a few men clubs here. They like what they're doing, and that's great. But we're pushing now for more combined.
Just the same.
clubs.
Okay. Well, you mentioned, I didn't mention, generally the older clubs in Belgium meet twice a month. And the younger clubs, the more recent, let's say those created in the last 15 or more years, meet once a month. But being Belgians, we enjoy drink and food. So yes, Don't organize it outside the restaurant. And even on a national day or a regional day, it has to have a drink or more than one, and a dinner.
Well, believe me, we all like our drink and our dinners too.
I have a question. My name's Gary Bennett. I very much have enjoyed this whole session, and
Thank
I
you.
see your pictures, but I'm wondering how to contact people like Brenda Andrews or Richard Furlong. Is there any posting or any listing that how we can find one another?
Well, the answer,
Okay,
was in that presentation I gave earlier, Gary. If you go to the PROBUS Global website, at the top right is a menu called Connect. Connect with a PROBUS Global member, and everyone who is a member of PROBUS Global, either they've shared their email address, and those who don't wish to, there's a contact button which will send them a message to get back to you by email. So PROBUS Global website, connect with a member.